So, my name's Sharon Binks. I'm part of an organisation called Justice for Women and Children. I'm also a mother and a grandmother, and I hate what's happening to our children, our society and our country. I, like many others, grew up in a so-called dysfunctional family home, domestic abuse, alcohol issues, sibling rivalry, violence, etc. The reasons they now give for removing children from families for potential risk of future emotional harm. I think I'm alright, I survived. I'm not saying it was always easy in that environment, but we had a mother who did her best she could for us while dealing with physical abuse, poor mental health and 4 fractious children. I felt sorry for her at times, protective of her. Other times I thought she was weak for not getting out. I didn't understand the hold of the narcissist back then. Even so, I never wanted to leave her, to live anywhere else. As stressful as it was at times, it was home. Yes, I went through a rebellious stage, didn't go to school much, drank too much, self-harmed, hated my dad, full of teenage angst. But I was also strong and independent with a sense of responsibility. I left home young, but I would always help Mum where I could. I always had a home to go to when things got tough. That's what having a family means. A sense of belonging, being part of the clan. It's the hardest job in the world, being a parent, especially if you have a negative experience of growing up. You find yourself dealing with your inner wounded child whilst trying to parent your own child. I vowed never to smack my children, so I would shout and scream instead, angry with myself for feeling useless. I realised I didn't have the tools or experience to manage the difficult behaviour. I'd never been taught, and I could see my behaviour mirrored in my daughter. I had to change. I wanted better for my children. Not all parents brought up in abusive homes go on to abuse their own children. Most are more protective. I spent the evenings reading and learning instead of drinking wine when the kids went to bed. I exhausted the mind, body, spirit section in the library. Books about abuse and childhood trauma, child psychology, dealing with and understanding emotions and behaviour, positive parenting. I went to college to study counselling, trained with a mediation service and volunteered at a rape and sexual abuse counselling centre. I wanted to put my knowledge to good use, so I applied for a job with North Yorkshire County Council as a family support worker. I firstly worked alongside the social workers in the child protection, child in need and looked after team. They actually had a base then, and people could pop in, you know, before they started closing offices and hiding in other teams, hot desking, so they can't be held accountable for the lives they destroy or face the understandably angry family members. It always felt like fighting fires in the social work team. Those parents needed help earlier, before there was a risk of family breakdown. So when a job for parent support advisor came up, it had my name all over it. I had 17 primary schools in my cluster. My day was spent visiting families at home, helping them with behaviour management, issues at school, family breakdowns, you know, super nanny stuff. I loved seeing the relationships in the household improve. It's amazing the difference the right support and a bit of understanding can do to heal a family. When parents have skills, they have confidence. When they learn how to communicate effectively with their child, relationships improve. I shared a technique with parents who felt they'd exhausted all avenues. I learned the technique on a training programme with Adoption UK, funded by the council. I called it Time In, a safe way to help children manage their emotions, with attachment and damage limitation at the core of it. Funnily enough, when parents told the social workers about the technique that was working for them, they were told they weren't allowed to do it. It was a form of restraint. I was pulled in to explain myself and told not to teach it anymore. I'm sorry, but if it's good enough for the adoptive parents to help them bond with someone else's child, then it's damn sure good enough for the real parents, in my book. I wasn't popular in the office, as you can imagine, but I never had a complaint from any of the 300 parents I worked with, and that meant a damn sight more to me. I worked with children's services and in schools for 15 years. I've witnessed the destruction of the family and the education system, and at an accelerated rate.